Hi, PerspectaWeather.com meteorologist Paul Dorian here on Thursday, January 16th. We have a strong cold frontal system working its way through the I-95 corridor region this morning. This frontal system is kind of a game changer. It will be the beginning of an overall pattern change for the central and eastern U.S. to colder, certainly colder than what we've experienced over the past several days, over the past few weeks. It looks like a colder weather pattern that will include snow threats along the way. It may stay colder than normal on average through the rest of January, maybe even through much of the month of February. Winds could gust to 50 miles per hour or so during the midday and afternoon hours into the early evening. And Arctic air is riding into the mid-Atlantic region on these strong northwest winds expected in a few hours and through the day today into the nighttime. And this Arctic cold, dry air mass will set the stage for a wintry precipitation event on Saturday. It looks like the precipitation will certainly begin in a frozen form, either snow and ice in the D.C. metro region or all snow in Philadelphia and New York City. And it will eventually change over, but it will be a struggle for temperatures to climb above the freezing mark. We'll kind of focus in on that low-level cold air expected for Saturday. At the same time, precipitation arrives, moving from the west to the east into the I-95 corridor region. Let's start off with the surface map right now in terms of the pressure pattern here. These black lines in this particular surface map represent lines of equal pressure, or known as isobars. And here's a low pressure area right now over New England that is intensified, slowly moving off to the east and north. There's a cold frontal system right in this region right here, and it is pushing to the south and east quite rapidly. It'll drive on through the I-95 corridor region over the next hour or so. Winds will increase noticeably. They're not too strong right now, but in a couple hours it'll be very noticeable. And by the midday and afternoon, they could be gusting up to 50 miles per hour or so out of the northwest, and there can be a snow shower or two. You can see the radar here showing some snow bands already forming upstate Pennsylvania, upstate New York. There can be a snow shower that makes it all the way into the I-95 corridor region later today into the early nighttime hours. But the big story today and tonight will be the strong winds, again gusting out of the northwest up to 50 miles per hour or so in places like D.C., Philadelphia, and New York City. Well, let's take a little closer look at the radar, and again there can be some snow shower, maybe even some snow squall activity today into tonight, especially upstate Pennsylvania, upstate New York. You can see some of these snow bands already starting to form, and they're basically aligned from the west-northwest to the east-southeast, and that's with the flow of the winds out of the northwest to the southeast, and very strong winds already in interior sections of the mid-Atlantic region, and that tighter pressure gradient will work its way into the I-95 corridor region over the next couple of hours. And by the middle of the day, winds will be gusting past 40 miles per hour or so, and again can reach 50 miles per hour or so later today. Any one of these snow showers can make it all the way into the I-95 corridor region later on today, but the best chance for heavier snow squalls will be across upstate Pennsylvania and upstate New York. Well, before we take a look at last night's surface forecast maps from the operational version of the GFS, I wanted to look at specifically look at the low-level temperatures. This is a very cold, very dry Arctic air mass coming our way that will be anchored by strong high pressure over southeastern Canada. And anyone who's watched my videos over the years in the wintertime know that I really focus on the high pressure to the north, a key ingredient for frozen precipitation events in the I-95 corridor region. In some ways, the high pressure to the north is more important than whatever low pressure comes our way. And the temperatures will struggle tomorrow to climb above freezing in the mid-Atlantic region, but perhaps more importantly, the dew points will start to drop later today, and especially overnight tonight into the day on Friday, to very low levels. This is a typical Arctic air mass with very dry characteristic as well as very cold. Anyone who has a weather station at home can first of all see the dramatic rise in pressure later today, tonight, into the day on Friday as that strong Arctic high builds into northern New England and southeastern Canada. And also watch the dew point. The dew point temperature is a measure of overall humidity. Basically, the higher the dew point, the higher the moisture content in the air. And with this air mass, it'll drop all the way down into probably the single digits by tomorrow, going into the day on Saturday. And why is that important? Well, it will result in what we call an evaporative cooling effect on Saturday. When the precipitation arrives, it'll actually struggle to reach the ground at first in the form of snow because the air will be so dry. That snow will actually evaporate at first. And that evaporation process is a cooling process, and that will help to produce frozen precipitation at the onset here. We may actually wake up in some suburban locations on Saturday morning with temperatures in the upper teens to the north and west of the big cities, and dew points very low. And again, precipitation will be knocking on the doorstep, and it looks like because of that cold, dry air mass in place, it'll begin as snow, certainly north of the Mason-Dixon line, the Pennsylvania-Maryland border, and either snow or ice or a mixture of the two in the D.C. metro region. The higher resolution models, such as the NAM, which is a 12-kilometer version model here, tend to do a better job with these low-level cold air situations as compared with the more synoptic, larger-scale models like the GFS. So I wanted to show the higher resolution model surface temperatures going from Friday into Saturday, because again, I think the NAM will have a better handle on things compared to, let's say, the GFS. The synoptic scale models tend to retreat the cold air a little too quickly. And let's take a look at these temperatures here now. Tomorrow morning, we're looking at tomorrow morning. This is a 23 model output reading right around Chester County in southeastern PA, 26 just north of D.C. Let's go through the day on Friday first, and it'll be a struggle to reach the freezing mark tomorrow afternoon. So highs in the 30 to 35 degree range on Friday afternoon. That's as compared with 50 to 55 yesterday in the I-95 corridor region. Let's keep moving forward here. Here we are early afternoon, 29 degrees here west of Philadelphia, 33 just north of D.C. Again, an Arctic air mass. That might be the peak for the day. Then we move into the overnight hours, and by Saturday morning, the model output is showing a 24 here west of Philly, 27 north of D.C., 20 north of New York City. And again, I really believe there may be some upper teens in some of these suburban locations in the I-95 corridor region come very late Friday night, early Saturday morning. But now watch what happens during the day on Saturday from this high resolution model. Here we are now into the middle part of the afternoon. This is a 21Z, which is about 4 p.m., mid to late afternoon hours on Saturday. Still near freezing or at freezing just north of D.C. Maybe it would be a degree or two higher than that in the district itself. Still only 30 degrees in the low levels of the atmosphere in and around Philadelphia, and there will be warming aloft. That will likely change the snow to sleet and ultimately perhaps to rain, but with temperatures like that, there could be freezing rain here for an extended period of time, especially north of the Mason-Dixon line. So this low-level cold air will definitely have a problem retreating on Saturday, and that is the problem that will lead to an extended period of frozen precipitation in the I-95 corridor region. Well, now let's walk through the synoptic scale model here, the operational version of the GFS from 06Z. We have low pressure over New England right now. This is an intensifying low, and the pressure gradient between this low moving away and the approaching high pressure system will tighten up over the next few hours, and that will result in 50 mile per hour wind gusts. DC, Philadelphia, New York City. Look at the pressure of this high pressure system. The surface pressure is 1049 millibars, a very, very strong Arctic high. Let's move forward here. That high pressure area builds right into southeastern Canada by later tomorrow. A cold, dry, still a windy day on Friday, not like today, not 40 to 50 mile per hour gusts, but perhaps up to 30 on Friday. Very cold compared to yesterday, with some 20 degrees knocked off the high temperatures between tomorrow afternoon and yesterday afternoon. Here comes our storm system, and again, it is not a favorable track for frozen precipitation in the I-95 corridor region as it cuts well to the north and west. However, with this strong high pressure system anchoring in a very cold and very dry air mass, there will be frozen precipitation on Saturday. Let's move forward here, and here we go. On Saturday morning, the snow will be snow or ice, or a combination of the two, will be right around the DC metro region come early to mid-morning hours on Saturday, and then it moves into Philadelphia probably late morning, midday hours, and then during the afternoon in New York City. At this time, I expect maybe a coating to an inch or two in and around the DC metro region of snow and ice at the onset. I'm thinking more in the way of 1 to 3 inches in and around Philly, New York City. It'll increase pretty sharply, pretty quickly as you go to the north and west of Philly and New York City. Places like Reading to the Poconos to interior northern New Jersey certainly could get 5-6 inches of snow before even there. I do expect some icing, some sleet, for example. The purple here and the pink represent sleet and freezing rain. So again, the snow would not last too long in the DC metro region. Perhaps it'll arrive as snow and sleet, but it could be enough to cause a coating to an inch or two before first to change over to sleet, and then maybe to freezing rain, and then ultimately plain rain. Snow lasts a little bit longer, certainly north of the Pennsylvania-Maryland border. Even there, it'll change to sleet and maybe some freezing rain, and then to rain. Let's move forward here, and the models are indicating plain rain at this time, late Saturday afternoon, early Saturday evening. Well, again, watch out. There may be pockets where there are temperatures, surface temperatures, near the freezing mark. So this could still be freezing on some surfaces well to the north and west of the urban areas late Saturday into Saturday night. Then that moves on by. There's a chance that the precipitation ends up changing back to snow before it ends early Sunday. And then Sunday, another reinforcing cold air mass moves in on strong northwest winds, probably not quite as strong as what is expected today, up to 50 miles per hour, but I certainly could see northwest winds up to 40 miles per hour or so on Sunday, and that air mass will be one of the coldest so far this year, and it looks like Monday and Tuesday of next week will be very cold compared to what we've been experiencing, maybe highs around 30 or 32 degrees in the I-95 corridor region from DC to Philly to New York City on Monday and Tuesday of next week. So an overall pattern change begins today with the passage of the strong Arctic frontal system in the early morning hours, and again later this morning through the afternoon into the early evening, winds could gust to 40 to 50 miles per hour or so as that Arctic air moves in. Very cold and very dry on Friday, and that sets the stage for a frozen precipitation event in the I-95 corridor region on Saturday. That's it for now. For PerspectaWeather.com, I'm meteorologist Paul Dorian.